Welcome to HortTube. My name is Jim Putnam. This video is on planting peppers and eggplants in containers. This is a series of videos I'm doing. One's on tomatoes and basil in containers, cucumbers, zucchini, and squash, and herbs in containers. So if you've seen one of the other videos, you can skip to about halfway through this video because there's going to be a lot of duplicate information in each of these. After this, I'm going to be doing the next video I'll be doing is setting up an irrigation system, an automated irrigation system to water these during the summer. And then I'm going to be doing some follow-up videos later in the summer to show you how they performed in containers. So thanks for watching. The first thing is the container I'm going to be using. I'm actually using a 7-gallon nursery container. These are fantastic because not only do they have the hole in the bottom, they also have holes in the sides here. Because over the course of the summer, your pots can seal down to whatever they're sitting on, and that middle hole underneath is actually more and more ineffective as the season goes on. So I like to have these holes in the side. If you're going to use a decorative container, which you can, this is a 16-inch decorative container, it'd be absolutely perfect for growing peppers, tomatoes, almost any vegetable in. It's got the holes in the bottom, but it would be best to come in and put some holes around the side as well, and that'll make sure you'll have proper drainage for the whole summer. This thing is about 12 to 14 inches in height. I buy a less expensive potting soil for the bottom half of my containers and then more of a premium product for the top. Typically you don't get roots all the way down to the very, very bottom of the container anyway. It tends to stay a little too wet down there for a lot of the roots. And the less expensive potting soil is actually a little more chunky, which will allow for some drainage in the bottom half of this container as well. Before I get started putting these peppers into containers, it's going to be hard to see, but when this pepper was up about 6 inches, I tip pruned the very top of it out, and now it's branching from where I had done that into about 3 or 4 different places here, and it's going to be a much fuller plant because of that. This is a Black Beauty sweet bell pepper here, and it's got the same thing going on. The flowers are occurring right here in the center of the top, and it's not branching anywhere, but it has along these edge of these stems places where it will branch out if I simply take the top out of this. It's a little bit heavy, so I'm going to use a pair of pruners to do that, but I'm just going to top this plant right out, and then it will branch out from there and be a much fuller plant. Okay, so here's my less expensive potting soil. I'm going to put that up to about halfway up the container, and I'm going to go ahead and do all 4 containers. Here's my more premium potting soil I'm going to put on top. What makes these two things different is the less expensive one is a chunkier blend. It's got some bark in it, which I think is less expensive. This one's mostly peat based. It will hold a lot more water. Peppers are just like tomatoes in that they benefit from being planted deep. I will take off the bottom couple leaves here with my pruners and just kind of clean up the bottom. I did take out the top of the plant. Like I said, I topped it here, which is going to cause it to branch out. I took off the bottom 2 leaves, and I'm going to plant the root ball in the ground here, and then an additional 2 inches or so into the soil here. And I'm just doing 1 plant in the center of the container. This is actually a sweet banana pepper, and I'm coming right up to the base of that next group of leaves. I'm tamping it in. I left the soil down about 1 inch here. I'm going to have my automated irrigation come along the edge of this, and I want to make sure I have a little place for a reservoir for water to stand before it soaks in. I don't want it running over the edge of the container and losing that. I'm going to do the same thing on this. I'm putting the tags in the pot so I know what they are later. This is that Purple Beauty pepper. I did the same thing. I cut the top out of it. I'm taking off a couple leaves down near the base of it and going very deep with it. Extra 2 inches of plant under the soil. This is not something you do on shrubs or trees at all. The eggplant, I don't top it, but it is going to require some pruning, and I'll do some follow-up videos on eggplants. Eggplants require pruning during the summer. We have to keep these with about 3 main stalks. They have a tendency to sucker, meaning additional pieces come up, and the plant gets so full and bushy, you end up with very small eggplants if you don't do some thinning on them and create some air movement through them and reduce the amount of flowering or reduce the amount of flowers that are on them. So I'll show you that later as the eggplant matures. This is a Black Beauty eggplant. I'm going to plant it pretty much the same depth as it was in the cell pack. And I'm going to put the tag in that one as well. This is a California Wonder bell pepper that I showed you that had been topped before, so it's already branching out. It's a very sturdy stem on it. I'm going to go right up to the base. It's got one lower leaf here that I'm going to take off, and I'm going to go up to that next lower branch area is where the depth I'm going to plant this. This one's been in this pot for a while, so I'm going to break the roots up on it a little bit. It was in a 1 gallon container. Make sure these roots start going out. I'm being pretty aggressive with it. Like I say, I'm going to sink them down pretty deep there. The last couple things I'm going to do on these 4 containers is, number 1, fertilize. And I'm using this tomato tone. I used it in the tomato and basil video. I'm going to use it on all of my vegetable plants. One of the main things I like about this product is it's not a crazy amount of nitrogen. It's a 3, 4, 6 formulation, and it's kind of low nitrogen. It's not going to push a ton of green growth throughout the season. I find every time I try to push vegetables hard with nitrogen, I seem to end up with worse aphid problems during those seasons. So I keep the nitrogen low, and this is a product I'll reapply every 2 to 3 weeks during the growing season. I'm just going to put a light dusting on the top of each of these containers, and then I'll just stir it in lightly with my hand to get it covered up. I'm going to water these pots in very well. I'm going to do it 2 or 3 times and let the water kind of drain through each time. The peat moss in the potting soil is dry when you get it, and it takes a lot of water to wet it the first time, but then it takes a long time for it to dry out. I'm not going to have to re-water these pots for a few days, and then over the course of the next 2 or 3 weeks, I'm going to have to water more and more and more, and that's when I'll install the automated system to water every day for me. But 2 or 3 times on each container, letting it kind of soak in each time, should be completely adequate here. So here's a close-up on the 4 containers. This is the eggplant here. It's already had something chewing on it. It seems like eggplants just get everything that comes along, likes to eat them. Here's the purple bell, which you can see where I cut it there. It'll branch out very quickly. You'll be amazed how much bigger these will be in a couple weeks. There's the sweet banana there, and like I was showing you, this was a much more mature plant on this regular green bell pepper, how it had already branched out. Thanks for watching my video, and if it was helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel, because I'm going to be putting out videos all summer long on container vegetable gardening. Thank you.